Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is the newest installment of one of the most legacy fighting game franchises, and in this video, I'm gonna spend the next 30 days trying to get as good as possible in this new game. I'm still on my quest to finally get decent at fighting games, and with City of the Wolves, hopefully I can get another shot at an intense ranked grind and learn a lot along the way. So, without wasting any more of your time, let's get started on the next month of Fatal Fury. Starting off this challenge, I just needed to learn the basics. City of the Wolves is a 5-button fighting game with tons of different mechanics and complexity that I'll be explaining throughout the video when it becomes relevant, because trust me, we've got a lot of ground to cover. In the meantime though, I just familiarized myself with the basic 4 buttons. Punch and kick, which each have a light and heavy variant, with different moves coming out depending on how close you are to your opponent. Next, I needed to make a very hard decision, which was the character I was gonna pick. Now this is a very important decision. I've realized these last few videos I've just been picking generic or popular characters on the box cover of the games. I gotta turn this ship around for this one. And so I tried every character in combo trials, learned what made them unique and different in the game, whether it was more awkward timing, stances, or their sheer simplicity, and I ended up choosing Mai. I'm not beating the basic allegations, am I? Okay, but on a serious note, Mai ended up being a lot more fun to play as than I'd first expected, and it's for a lot of reasons that I'll explain in a later section. This week, I just needed to focus on the basics. It's been a while since I'd played one of these slower fighting games, and it definitely showed these first few days. I didn't really have a game plan with this character starting off, so I mostly relied on stray hits and occasional special attacks to get through arcade mode, and that was absolutely not the way to do it. Trying to mindlessly spam your way through a fighting game is never really all that good, but to actually see why, let's take a look at that 5th button, the Rev Guard. Rev Guard is essentially your gateway to almost all of City of the Wolves' unique mechanics, and my god, are there a lot of them. But on its own, in neutral, the Rev button is what's referred to as a push block, which is a block that just gets the opponent away from you. It blocks both directions, so you don't have to guess on a cross-up, and if the other guy is mindlessly spamming, they'll eventually whiff and you can punish pretty easily. The downside though, is that with each hit you block, your rev meter goes up, which is a resource that, when maxed out, puts you into overheat, severely limiting your available mechanics, so you want to avoid 100% rev whenever possible. A lot of things increase your rev gauge, so managing it becomes more important the better you get at the game. But I wasn't good at the game. In fact, I was still very bad at the game. So I did need to set up a game plan. Usually for strategy, I would consult like a wiki or something at first, but since this game had basically just come out, none of that information was there, so I looked at some early tournament footage and kinda built my own strategy around that. First was my bread and butter combo. I found a couple of players doing some variation of this combo, but I'm not mechanically as sharp as those guys, so I made a few adjustments to better suit my skill level. This was basically the only consistent combo I knew, so Heavy Punch quickly became my most used attack in neutral, since it could hit confirm up close and still be relatively safe far away. It was at least a step up from my habit of sweeping all the time, since that leaves you vulnerable to getting swept right back, but it still had some use going forward. After practicing my combos and playing against AI for a bit, I thought it'd be a good time to just hop into casuals before I started climbing the ranks. And after a bit of a slow start at first, I got the hang of things and got around to winning most of my games. My basic combo was essentially all I needed to beat these players, and most of the time, I was just trying to make them whiff or throw out something punishable. There was also a lot of Rev Blow spamming, which is this green move that comes out when you're in... Oh, right, I didn't explain SPG yet. You see this yellow bar up here on your health? Yeah, that's the SPG zone, and when you're in it, you get a few benefits. Your attacks deal a bit more damage, you don't gain as much rev gauge, you get a new super, and, for our purposes, a new move, which is your Rev Blow. It's a universal armor attack that can be used in air or on the ground, and it plows through basically anything that's not a super, grab, or another Rev Blow. A lot of beginners like to spam this move, especially if they see you use it first, so keep that in mind and it'll be pretty easy to predict. That about covers the first week of the challenge, and by the end of it, I had a general game plan not really tuned against any character in particular, so with that, let's hop into week 2 and the start of the ranked climb. Okay, now that I knew how the game worked, I can start the climb up ranked for the rest of the month. City of the Wolves' ranked system is pretty simple. You got newcomers, then 5 divisions of rookie and every other rank from C to triple S. I couldn't find any data on the rank distribution since this game is very new, so I'm just trying to climb as high as I can these next few weeks. So, starting off on my first ranked match, I had myself in newcomer, and ran through my first set in ranked, winning 2-1 after going down the first game. I played a bit too aggressive in the first game, but bounced back and kept my cool in the next 2. Since whenever you're just starting out, it helps a lot to stay more reactive, waiting for your turn or a punish. And this was pretty much a theme of the early games I played down here. Everyone who could rev blow, did rev blow. Anyone who could reversal, did reversal. And people were just generally not very patient to wait their turn. That being said though, you still gotta react properly to their moves, and doing that basically requires you learn to anti-air properly. Now this wouldn't usually be a problem if the anti-air was just like a normal in any other game, but no, Mai's anti-air is basically just DP. I mean, you have high dodge, but actually no, this move sucks as an anti-air, you have to DP. Now this was a bit of a problem for me, since not only am I not used to doing the motion as an anti-air, I usually use the simpler options provided in similar fighting games, but jumping in this game is really strong. Since not only do you have your normal jump, but tapping the button gives you a hop that's a lot faster and harder to punish. Luckily though, not that many people at the start were hopping, so it gave me some time to practice my DP punishes. My punish game in general also got a lot better this week, and I was still practicing that combo I put together in week 1, which actually shows pretty well why I liked Mai in the first place. Breaking. Breaking is a mechanic every character has access to in the game that's a staple in many characters' combo routes. It's basically just a cancel on select special moves so that they can combo into something else, and once you understand that, combo routing becomes a lot more freeform, and characters like Mai use it a lot, which felt super good to do once I got the hang of it. So sticking with this character just seemed like the right choice. I was starting to enjoy the game a lot more now that I'd actually gotten the hang of things. This was my first SNK game that I'd taken seriously, and it was a fun time. Though I couldn't really shake the feeling that this game was very similar to a certain other fighting game that has a huge player base and a franchise spanning multiple years. Maybe it's the universal armored move, maybe it's the reduced action state that happens when you spend too much of a resource. But really though, the similarities were pretty clear. There's an obvious inspiration from the success of Street Fighter 6, but Fatal Fury, of course, just has a ton more mechanical complexity, but does that really translate to more depth in comparison? I'll leave that up to you. I'm not good enough at either of these games to make that judgment call yet. Anyways though, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was climbing ranked. I pretty quickly got out of newcomer into rookie, and from there it wasn't too bad for the week. My game plan was working pretty well, poking and comboing off of heavy punch, and as I got more comfortable with it, introducing more moves for specific situations where I didn't want to block anymore, like the lights whenever the opponent was up really close. I was just sharpening my decision making this week. I tried my best to not get easily caught in avoidable situations where I'd get punished, and made an active effort to play even more reactive till I learned more about their character or playstyle. I didn't play too many games this week, but the ones I did, I tried really hard in all of them. I'd built up a pretty strong win ratio during my climb, winning almost every single set I played, and after a week of good games and consistent improvement, I pushed up through all 5 rookie divisions and got C5 by the end of the week. It was a good start, but we've still got a lot of work to do. Now usually this is the week I'd say to you that I locked in, you know? I didn't play as much last week, but now that I've gotten it figured out, I'm ready to climb to the top. But that's not exactly what happened here. Did I get better this week? Yes, of course I did, but not without a significant amount of road bumps up ahead. But for now, let's just focus on the positives. First off, I improved my bread and butter. Turns out just breaking the DP and using a more damaging ender gives much better results. Also, I learned to start trying to use close heavy kick to start this combo since it adds a bit more damage. It wasn't the most consistent though, since I had to add in a feint cancel in the middle of it. And while we're on the topic, a feint is just as it says. It's a fake special move that can sometimes be used to cancel other moves in time. Though this feint into heavy punch had a pretty tight timing, so I just resorted to mashing really fast. And I mean like really fast. This combo wasn't exactly easy to pull off outside of Oki, but one benefit of it was that the feint cancel sometimes gives players the impression they can mash after heavy kick, which you can't, and just get comboed by the close heavy punch afterwards. You know, earlier in this video I was talking about how you should really be reacting more than aggressing in fighting games, and looking back at me saying that, that's what I thought I was doing. What I'm now realizing as I'm writing this script is that generally I'm not reacting as much as I am expecting a certain outcome. Like my mental stack was kinda weak, so I'd be looking for an anti-air but don't realize there's a giant attack barreling towards me. This is something I realize just takes practice to get better at. I'm not perfect, so even if I'm saying something is reactable or I can do it on reaction in a vacuum, don't take it to mean that I'll hit it every single time. This type of stuff comes with time, and I'm sure as I get better at fighting games, I'll get faster at adopting reactions. But to reel it back a bit, let me tell you about another one of the issues I ran into this week. My opponent's skill level. It was kind of like all over the place. Some days I'd be fighting like a hardened fighting game master, while others I get Timmy the Glue Eater who's like 5 ranks above me. This was a recurring thing this week, and it meant I'd lose that super high win rate, and instead it got traded for something a bit more reasonable. It's not like the variance was too big of a deal for me, I just wanted a place to complain about nothing into the nothingness. Aside from that though, I did genuinely feel like I was plateauing a bit in my skill level. Even though every single day I was gaining ranks, the matches started to feel just kinda samey in my head afterwards. It was just throwing out heavy punch, okay, did you combo? Alright, there's the next 10 seconds of your life, then you try and do it again. If I'm being completely honest, I felt a lot of boredom in between days of playing, and I didn't feel like I was enjoying the game all that much. But that feeling never really lasts all that long. You wanna know what makes you feel better? Winning. So I did that, and made it all the way out of C, and onto B5. Let's keep this train going. Here we go. It's the last week of the challenge. This week I gave myself a lot to do. I signed up for 2 tournaments for this game and wanted to just grind out ranked for a majority of the week to see where I really belonged after a month of improvement. I learned something pretty important to the climb throughout the week, and it's something that seems pretty simple and obvious, but is still worth the focus. Consistency. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Keeping your plans consistent, keeping your focus consistent, and definitely keeping your inputs consistent. If you're trying to push up the ladder, it's pretty bad for your win-loss ratio if you miss every other wake-up DP input or anti-air, and this really screwed me over throughout this challenge. Also, this week I just realized that I'd been kind of underusing one of the best mechanics in the game. Rolling. See, on Wake Up, you actually get 5 options for where to recover. You can either stand up right away, short roll, or long roll in either direction, which leaves you a bit vulnerable to getting grabbed, but you get to kinda mix up your opponent from a disadvantaged state. I didn't actually start rolling till around like week 3 because I honestly just forgot it existed. This week though, I started to challenge myself to really start paying attention to just the things that matter and stop autopiloting like I'd felt myself doing sometimes in previous weeks so that I could figure out and improve where I needed to. Now that I'd gotten into B ranks, I felt the opponents I was facing were getting significantly harder. Like, these guys were all seemingly very experienced players, and I got washed a ton of times. The gap to the good players seemed even more apparent once I'd started playing in these tournaments that I signed up for this week, since I got completely stomped in both of them. But it wasn't all bad though. Even through the losses, I could tell that this week was definitely the most productive in terms of my improvement. Looking back, I can see a huge improvement in my decision making and spacing, as well as understanding of the mechanics of the game. I built setups, found combos, and kind of made myself a strategy by just watching better players and adding in my own spin on things for my skill level. In the end, the ranked grind only really got me in this week to B4, and while this didn't really follow my previous weeks of improvement of 1 letter rank every single week, bigger picture, weeks like this and this challenge as a whole really help keep me motivated to grind out more fighting games, and I think that's more important in the long run than what a rank can give you, since at the end of the day, keeping consistently trying to improve even after those tough days is when it really matters. My honest thoughts on where I ended up in this challenge, B4 actually seems around the skill level I was at. I don't think I was able to push till A, and the matches were getting a bit grueling at this point in time. So yeah, that's gonna be where I end off this game. I got a lot better throughout this challenge, and hopefully that can carry over to some of the even bigger projects that are on the way. Stay subscribed, cause there's a lot of good stuff coming. See ya.